You know, the day I can't be in my hood, I don't even want to live.
Welcome to The Limits. I'm Jay Williams. And that is the unmistakable voice of today's guest, my man, Fat Joe. You see, Joe is one of those guys who's been around the scene forever, and he's had a huge impact on hip hop and entertainment as a whole. He's put out 13 albums and even started his own record label, Terror Squad Productions. He's helped start the career of his good friend and collaborator, Big Pun, who tragically passed away in the year 2000. Rest in peace, brother. And yes, me and Joe dig deep into Pun and their relationship. We'll also get into Joe's experience growing up Puerto Rican in the Bronx, the mecca of hip hop, the convergence of hip hop and basketball culture, Joe's loyalty to his family, his friends, and his community, and how he views his own legacy. Even though I said the word legacy, this man is just getting started. His memoir, The Book of Jose, is dropping in November. Not to mention, he's got a one-man show and even an animated TV series in development. Incredible, right? But even with all he's done, it took the pandemic for Fat Joe to really reintroduce himself to the world. That's when he started doing Instagram live segments with all kinds of celebrities. They chopped it up and told undiluted stories to a captive online audience. I know, because I was one of Joe's guests during those times. So without further ado, here's my conversation with my man, the one and only, Fat Joe. I got to tell you, man, this is a throwback for me. I mean, last time we really rapped was during the pandemic. I remember you hit me on DM. I was like, you got me a half a bottle of wine in. So I was half a bottle by myself until like 12 o'clock at night, just rapping with you, man. Like, it's just crazy how fast time switches. You coming off hosting the BET Awards, everything you've been doing, man. Like, where were you back then? Take me to back when you were doing all your IG lives. You were really kicking off. You've always had personality, but things really got kicked off.
Yeah, I was scared to death, and because I'm pre-diabetic. I was diabetic since I was 12, and then when I lost all the weight, I got rid of the diabetes. But if you was watching news, they were saying people with diabetes are just dying. They just dying. So I was terrified of COVID, and so I was home. Like, I was not faking it. I was home. And one day my daughter tells me, yo, Dad, let's go on live. I didn't even know what live was. And she was like, you could talk to your fans live. I said, get out of here. We turned it on one day, and Michelle Obama, Kim Kardashian, Floyd Mayweather, everybody was stuck home. So people were like commenting. It was the craziest thing. I was looking, I was like, no way, Michelle Obama, Kim Kardashian, like everybody was home. So it was like when D Nice was killing and had 1 million people were home, so everybody was tapping in. And it was crazy to me because if you go back to that, you'll see every time I clicked on somebody like you and saw you, I was like, oh, I could not even believe that there was a way to commute, like, the Mike Tyson, you know what I'm saying? And every day it felt like, so we turned it into like a TV show on Instagram. So every day, Monday through Friday, we would go and just go on at 8 o'clock, interview people, and we were talking about real topics too, everything from domestic violence, because people were stuck home. So we was talking to people about a whole bunch of issues.
I mean, I know you got me to talk about my accident, like my near-death experience. You got me to talk about trials and tribulations and family. Do you have is there one conversation in particular where literally you put down the phone and you're like, damn, I can't believe I just had that conversation with this person on my IG Live?
Well, the thing that happens to me is I live my life like an open book, total transparency. And so for me, I want people to learn about my mistakes. I want people to learn about my failure. I want people to learn about my wins, you know what I'm saying? So that we could just pass a baton of hope to the youth and to the people watching. So there really isn't nothing off limits, we just get on there and we talk. And being that, in urban journalism or hip hop journalism, there's been a thing to it to where people want clickbait, they want shock jocking, and they take you and they say, hey, Jay, what's up, my brother, this, and then they jam you up. So people like you and me, when we go do interviews, we always got like this invisible wall of bars up, like, yo, watch what you say. But with me, people know I'm safe. I'm never going to jam you up. It's always going to be positive. And so they start dropping the gems, like Bobby Brown telling me he taught MJ how to moonwalk. Or Reverend Al Sharpton saying that MJ, Michael Jackson, rest in peace, went to the funeral home where James Brown was at, because that was his idol, in the middle of the night, and combed his hair the right way and said, Mr. Brown combs it to the right, not the left. And so you hear all these gems and you like, wow. So you feel like a fly on the wall. We would never hear nothing like this. But, tune in to Fat Joe, you might hear something.
You're Puerto Rican and Cuban descent.
That's right.
Right? Born in the Bronx.
That's right.
Hip hop is a multicultural, multi-ethnic thing in the Bronx, right? Back when you were coming up. What questions did you have about your race and your background when you were at a young age?
I grew up black. And so...
What does that mean, Joe?
I'm going to tell you. My hood is 90% black. My projects, my neighborhood was dominantly black. My grandmother's neighborhood was 99.9% black, where there was no popular Latinos and nothing like, if they did, they was out the way. And so that's where I grew up. My mom's lived there for 40 years in that community. So she's from the community. They love Miss Ruby, this, that. And so when I'm born, I'm not listening to salsa and all that. I'm listening to Gloria Gaynor. I'm listening to Stephanie Mills. I'm listening to I Will Survive. Oh, that's what my house was playing, right? And so it's hard for people to fathom that there were no social media. There was no Instagram. There were no nothing like that. So I grew up blonde hair, green eyes, knowing I'm Latino, but thinking I'm black. Don't know how to explain it to you any other way, right? And so it wasn't until I went to high school and met another Latino brother that was a real dude. And he said, yo, come hang out with me in my hood. And 10 blocks away was like another world. So when we went to his hood, it was 90% Puerto Rican, Latino, flags in the window. The black guys over there thought they were Spanish. No, this is a true story.
I know, yeah.
I met the blackest guy out there. He was like, oye, ¿qué pasa contigo, papo? This, that. He grew up in that other side of town. He was the Fat Joe of the Spanish. And so, and it was good. I swear to God, I got a book coming out in November, the Book of Jose. I explained this in my book, that I could not believe that it was like Puerto Rican heaven over there. Like, you know what I mean? It was just dominantly Puerto Rican. And that's when I learned about salsa, Hector Lavoe, Gran Combo, and I really started learning my Latino heritage over there. I was always Latino. I'm not. That's 1,000,000%. My father's Cuban, never spoke English. He went to jail. The only time my father went to jail was we got stopped by some officers who were white, and they pulled them over and they were saying license and registration. And my father kept telling them, no speaking English. And they was like, no, you speak fucking English. You speak English. He was like, no speaking English. They locked my father up because he didn't speak English. Hardworking man, had his license, had his thing. I had to watch my father in handcuffs for the first time ever in the rain because he didn't speak English. So, of course, I'm Latino. I'm proud to be Latino, but I grew up on that side of town.
How'd you learn how to fuse those two worlds together? Or was it just to learn how to blend in and out?
I was born loved. My community always loved me. I can't break down to you. Was it hard for you being a Latino in hip hop? I don't know that. Since I was born, I was Fat Joey. They love me. My community loves me to this day. You understand? We got a girl I grew up with that just collapsed and died last week, Keisha, from my building, 3rd floor. I got to go to an event in Miami. I pushed it all the way back to make sure I go to her viewing, because that's my family. That's where I come from. That's my neighborhood, And so I didn't receive that, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't receive racism. I didn't receive nothing. You know, I got my start at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, and they went crazy when they seen Fat Joe come out there. Like, I never had that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I am curious on how you deal with backlash, right? Because I know recently you made some comments paying tribute to Latino pioneers in hip hop, right? Like, can you just explain to our audience
Give me
what
my
happened?
Instagram. Give me my phone. Funny you say that. I just pulled up, and this is what I just saw on Instagram.
Because a lot of black hip hop fans were all on their rage and their feelings about it.
That's not true. That's Twitter black fans. It's not real fans, bro. I'm not too sure what's real on Twitter and what's not. Okay. This is the first hip hop movie. Wild Style. That's Charlie Chase down with Crow Crush, one of the first hip hop groups in the world. Fantastic Romantic 5, Cold Crush. I just saw this now. I didn't have it. Look, they're both Puerto Rican on the first rap groups ever. Can't make this Ruby D, first Puerto Rican. Do you see Ruby D? Like, this is from the infancy. Listen to what I'm saying. Cold Crush, Fantastic Romantic. When you go and you buy your books or you look at your 30 for 30 documentaries and they show hip-hop's infancy, there was a photographer named Joe Conzo who took every picture. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have that. That footage of the Bronx looking like this, he picked up the camera. He's not hip-hop. Charlie Chase, the DJ of the Cold Crush Brothers, is not hip-hop. Ruby D, the first Puerto Rican MC, and Whip Wop from Fantastic Romantic is not hip-hop. So I'm sorry, guys. I grew up in the Bronx, not on the other side of town. I grew up where hip-hop was born. You know, so when you look at Saudi Arabia and you see them going around Mecca, I was born in the Mecca. So Grandmaster Flash, who is one of the 3 founders of hip-hop, is Africa Bambaataa, Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash. My brother was his crate boy. So my brother, when he would go DJ at the legendary jams, my brother would carry milk crates that had vinyl. It's my brother, my blood brother, my brother Angel. They call me Little Angel when they see me. Grandmaster Flash and Melly Melly, they call me Little Angel. It's not my fault I was born at the place. You really can't argue with me. These are facts. This ain't controversial. This ain't nothing. This is a fact. Now, if you want to erase history, if you want to change the history, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, but I'm going to stand up for the principle. What's right, what I know to be correct, 1,000,000%. When they make this hip-hop museum, whatever Fat Joe said will turn out to be factual. It's not controversial.
Does it bother you when you receive backlash, Joe?
What happens with the backlash is, first of all, I don't believe Twitter, right? You know, because when they cancel Fat Joe, I'm in the blackest neighborhood of Houston, where they're loving me, carrying me in the air, tossing me up in the air. Joe, we love you. I'm in the ATL, just did the beat. I just hosted the Black Entertainment Wall. What? I don't know where these people are at, guys. I don't know if they're fooling you guys on social media or something. I don't see them. I have yet to be confronted in any place in America with somebody saying, Latino. I don't know who these people are.
When it comes to hip hop history, you better not come at Fat Joe. He was there. He has knowledge and he has receipts. You're listening to The Limits. Don't go anywhere. This message comes from NPR sponsor Aspiration. When it comes to saving the planet, Aspiration is helping people align with their values. Switch to the planet side and get Aspiration. Aspiration is a climate-friendly alternative to big banks. Get an account and debit card built to help your wallet and the planet. Make your dollars make a difference. Open your account at aspiration.com/limitsdebit today. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to The Limits. I'm Jay Williams. And yes, today we are talking to the one and only my brother, Fat Joe. You see, growing up in the Bronx, Joe watched hip hop history as it happened. Then he became part of that history himself. In this segment, Joe shares memories of his friend and brother, Big Pun, and the impact that Pun's tragic death had on his life. But first, I had to talk to my man a little bit about some hoops. Here we go.
I want to bring it back to hoops for a minute, man, because you were recently featured in the 30 for 30, right? The greatest mixtape ever, it was a dope flip, by the way. It was incredible, man. But take me back to like the 90s, like where there was this conversion, like hip hop.
As a fan?
Yeah, you as a fan, you as an artist, just like this conversion where the athletic world and the hip hop world met.
When you talk about basketball and me just coming up in the 90s, we was in the club with Oakley. We was in the club with Mace. We was in the club with even Allen Houston was in the club every night. If you go later on, me and AI became really, really tight, and Stephon Marbury. So Stephon, I would be in the projects with him in Coney Island. And so I had some serious relationships with ball players coming up in the 90s, hanging out with them early 2000s. Like, you know, but I hung out with everybody.
How did that influence you on how you produced your art?
Basketball to me, with you playing, it's choreography. It's dancing. You dancing. I love Rondo. He dance. You know what I mean? And you in there, I'm not just saying individual achievement. I'm not just saying dribbling, but you dance until you find the right person to get the ball to. And so hip hop is the same thing. It's music, it's choreography. And so it just blends in. And so like tonight I'm scared. Tonight I'm scared because I hosted the BET Hip Hop Awards, and of course, basketball's back.
Yeah.
Tonight. Why? Like, you know what? That's how much I know, you know, and I was afraid to fly. So I've been all over this country. So I've ate dinner in barns where people are going, don't go messing with a country boy. I've been there, right? Getting myself a steak. I've been in the Texas border. I've been in LA, Philly, wherever you name, and that basketball is on in every bar, every lounge, every gym. So, you know, it coincides together. Basketball and hip hop. You know, when you guys are in the gym, y'all listening to hip hop.
Yeah.
It's all one thing, and we admire each other so much. I mean, I think basketball players are the only people that rappers look up to. That's the craziest thing. Because rappers, you got to understand, most of us come from nothing. And when you come from nothing and you make it to something, nobody can tell you nothing. So you're almost in your own world. So everybody got everybody, yo. But the only time we sit down and turn on that TV and tell our wives or our girlfriends to chill is watching that basketball on TNT. Yo, hold up. This guy's the man. You kidding me? This is the man. This is the God. Like, what are you talking about? It's the only time a rapper humbles himself, you know, and looks at the Greek and freak, do an ill dunk, and jumps. Like, we don't do that for nobody else.
I heard you on a sit down with Charlemagne, the God. We've had him on the show too. And you said something that was so just fascinating, blew my mind, where you said, yo, rappers are like the man in the arena to a degree. Like, there's like no barriers because your life is in the streets, but yet you live this other life that's in fame and the light, but you always go back in the streets and you're going back and forth. Like, how do you protect yourself, Joe?
I'm just blessed by God. I'm going to be honest with you. And the day I feel walking amongst my people, Joe's no good no more. And so Fat Joe is like a liaison. Fat Joe's a guy who made it from nothing that the streets can still touch. You know, when Mr. Williams wants to repair his church in the Bronx, they know how to find Fat Joe. But they come to Fat Joe, and Fat Joe's the middleman, and I go to Jay-Z and a couple of my other friends, and we repair the church. We don't publicize it, but that's what we do. So Fat Joe's like the guy we still could grab, but he could touch the affluent, right? And it's been a big job of mine to be in the community and helping the community and giving them inspiration and giving them hope that, you know, the day I can't be in my hood, I don't even want to live. Now, to the contrary, Fat Joe be a big dummy if you hear he got shot in front of the projects and got killed. Like, yo, he's rich. Fat Joe don't need to be in these projects. What is he doing out here? So it's a real catch-22.
So what would your advice be to up-and-coming hip-hop artists?
Hire real security, not your homeboy. Because if your homeboy got a gun and protects you, you're both going to jail forever.
Joe, I want to talk to you about one of the realest lyricists, and you're in that category, but also the late Big Pun, man.
Oof.
I mean, who you discovered, dog. And
Yeah.
I mean, of course, his passing in 2000 was a crazy tragedy for you. One of the things I just recently learned is that you lost your sister and your grandfather that same week, Joe.
Bro. Crazy, bro. Crazy. I went in deep depression for 2 years. I was in the tub looking at the ceiling without water all night. And if I walked outside and it was sunny, it looked dark to me. I had to go get therapy. I had to sit down with a therapist. Fat Joe at the time thought he was the toughest guy in the world. But every Tuesday, I went there for 2 hours and sat with the therapist. And it wasn't until like 2 years later, we was doing the Big Pun mural we do in the Bronx. Every year we change it. And two guys, I owe this guy so much money, bro. I swear to you, I owe this guy. I never saw his face. If I saw his face, I would try to find this guy. Two guys are walking and one of them says, yo, what's that? What they doing? And he says, yo, that's the mural. They do that for Big Pun every year. Yeah, really? They do? He was like, yeah, it's been like 2 years. And the thing just said 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, like a ricochet. 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. And at that moment, I snapped out the depression. I said, yo, Joe, you've been beating yourself up for 2 years, man. Can't bring them back. Can't bring them back. You know, you have an obligation. You know what I'm saying? And so to me, now that I'm older, I know that I have an obligation to the youth, to my community, to be transparent and just show them a better way, show them some type of hope. We grew up with so much hopelessness. You know, we don't believe that we could ever become successful. We could never be business leaders and stuff like that. So I try to show them, you know, that's why I open up businesses in my community. And I put schools in it. I have classrooms in the school, in the store, where people come and mentor them and teach them after school, and they could use computers and they could this. You know, that's important to me. That's I'm not going to lie to you, that makes me feel good. You know, I'll tell you a story, Jay, because you touching some issues. One day I was in the Bronx, and I went to get some gas. This terrible neighborhood, too, but this like, crime-ridden, like, Fat Joe had no business there, right? But I pull up. I use the store, a homeless man comes out. He says, yo, it's Joe. I said, what's up? He said, nah, I don't want no money. He said, I don't want no money, Joe. I don't want no money from you, none. He said, I want you to know, we know what you do for the community. I looked at him. It's a homeless man, right? I looked at him. He was like, we know you gave all that money back to the fire victims. We know you give out the food. We know. I want you to know we know. And so, shit fucks me up, man. Shit fucks me up.
It's all right, fam.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just, you know, I try to help everybody. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But when you got a guy like that who could tell you, yo, Joe, man, we know. It's the homeless guy. He don't want no money. We know you help us. It's crazy to me.
You know, I feel like as an African-American male, when I got drafted, it's funny, people like, yo, Jay Will, you made it. It was never, though, I made it. It was we made it. It's a whole community. I'm from Plainfield, New Jersey. It was Plainfield got drafted. My family got drafted. First time ever in my life, I felt the weight of, I had mouths to feed. Like I wanted to put everybody on, friends, family. I want everybody to make it.
Yeah.
That weight is heavy, man.
Yeah,
that weight
I did
is
it.
heavy. How do
I
you
did
deal
it.
with it?
You know, I went through all that. You know what I'm saying? Being a young millionaire and buying 20 guys Cadillac trucks and paying everybody's rents and taking people on private planes. That's foolish, right? And survivor's guilt is a real thing. How do you tell the lady no that gave you the chicken wings when your moms ain't have no food? How do you, and so, but that, you can navigate through that. And me, I'm always there for you, but you can't take advantage of me. Somebody pass away, I'll give up the money for the funeral. I might have paid for 100 funerals, and I just paid for one last week, right? So funeral, a major crisis, you know, you could count on Joe, right? But that era or that time of my life is over. That was when I was young, thinking we could be rich forever. I went broke 3 times doing that. Taking care 3 times. From being a millionaire to go to the bank and it's 0 money. Being a millionaire, come back a miracle. God, please get on my knees. I get on my knees. Please, God. Please, he gives me another hit. What's love? I get rich again. Then I go broke again, trying to take care of all these people. Then I get rich again, right? And so that's a different type of conversation when you talk about survivor's guilt, looking out for the whole hood. What happens to me is empathy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, you guys, you know, you could have killed me. You know, all the time I was a troubled kid, Jay, like really, really a bad person. And they could have killed me in the lobby. They could have told the cops half the stuff I did. I could have still been in jail. My community protected me. They said, nah, we love Joey. We love Joey. And so I never forget that. And so that's why, you know, I always try to give back to the community, whether it's food, whether it's computers, whether it's sneakers, it's opening business, giving them hope, donating $2 million, raising $2 million to the families of the burning victims, or sending 4 airplanes with 1 million pounds of food to Puerto Rico. Like, that's it for me. That's the currency. That's the equity. You know, I want to go down with people saying, yo, you know, Joey, yeah.
What's your family mean to you, man?
Everything. My family has never heard the word no. From my mother to my father to my wife to my daughter to my sons. They've never heard no. It's always been yes, no matter what. And my son Joey is autistic. Me and his mother was seeing each other. We broke up. We had like some makeup sex. She got pregnant. She insisted in having the baby. The baby comes out. The doctor tells us that he's special, that he has Down syndrome. She tells me, let's give him up for adoption. I can't raise this kid. I'm only 19 years old. Me and my mother and father, we raised Joey. He's happy. He's a beautiful kid. He's a baby Dawn. And so I never give up on family. I'm always there. I have a brother who dealt with drug abuse his whole life. I might have put him in 40 drug rehabs. I might have bailed him out of jail 60 times. I might have, like, you know, I don't give up on family. You know, family is everything to me. I admire families that do this, and they stick together no matter what. You know, it's important to me. And a lot of, because I'm the rapper, a lot of wives of my friends don't realize I am the guy who keeps them together. Like, I'm the guy you come and say, yo, I'm tired of her. I'm about, no, let's think about this. Yo, this is your wife. This is your kids. You know how many marriages I might have saved in my life just trying to talk sense into guys? You know, because I just think you just, when you're with somebody, you know, you should work through anything. Anything. I mean, leaving each other should be the last result. Like, we really hate each other. There's nothing we can do about it. Other than that, you got to work through things, man. Right? Nobody's perfect, right? So my daughter grew up in Miami going to Catholic school. We would go to everything, the dances, the this, that. People would look at us and shun us because we dress like this or whatever, and be like, oh, that's the rapper guy, whatever, this, that. 5, 6 years later, my daughter's in 7th grade. 90% of the class got divorced. We don't see the fathers no more. We don't see, it was just like that. And the rappers, the bad people, him and his wife are still showing up together. And so people think and believe, if you want to let me say some controversial shit on here, is people think that if they get divorced, the kids could work through it. It's not a problem, this and that. I disagree. I think that kid is hurt for life. And I would prefer people to work through it, you know, with their families, because these kids, they know, like, yo, my moms and dad ain't together no more. They know it's a problem. They know that. I really believe that in my heart. You know what I'm saying? I've always believed that. And so a lot of things happen now where people just live for them. It's a scary thing. So now it always was based on the parents, but now the parents live for them. I want to be happy. I get one life. So forget that you brought these kids into the world. I want to live my life. I'm 50 years old. I want to be with a 22-year-old. They start living for themselves. And you be like, yo, what about the kid, man? Like, what about your kids?
Joe, obviously that fits into your character, man. I watched this character literally evolve, right? Evolve from Joey Crack now to Fat Joe, who's like the businessman, entrepreneur. You've always been that way. What could you pinpoint on when that evolution started?
I've been an entrepreneur since I was 14. I've been outside my mom's house since I'm 14 and started doing the wrong thing and got really, really good at it. You know, it wasn't till a bunch of my friends were dying and going to jail for life that I pivoted and said, let me go to the Apollo Theater, become a rapper. And I remember walking in when I got signed, like 1992 to Relativity Records. I knew walking in the door, I was like, yo, I'm going to be a boss. I'm going to have my own record label. I'm a signed artist. It's always been my mentality to be an entrepreneur, always to be a boss.
So how'd you make that pivot? Because a lot of people are in that position where they're the entertainer, right? But then how do you turn that into enterprise?
Well, I watched Puff Daddy. I knew Puff Daddy. I saw what, me and Biggie, rest in peace, were brothers. I saw everything he did with Biggie. And so I'm coming out of Bodega, and some Spanish kids are rapping, and the biggest one says, yo, let me rap, twin, let me rap. And he started going, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Boom, he stops and goes, snatch the moon out the sky, and blow the sun away. Me and my brothers playing hardcore. I was like, oh my God. It was a big pun. I grabbed him, I threw him in my Lexus. I was already wrapping up my second album. I threw him in the car. So I'm gonna make you the Spanish Biggie. I know how they did it. I was there.
Just randomly outside of Bodega.
Right, randomly outside of Bodega. But what I'm trying to tell you is that Fat Joe, if I sit next to a smart person for enough time, I'll figure it out. I'm like a sponge. And I need to leave behind a huge legacy, like a huge legacy. I want my great-grandchildren to look at a painting of the fat guy on the wall and be like, yo, who's that? That's our grandfather, Fat Joe.
That's
he
the
left
boss.
us this. He's the one who did this. He's the man. And so that's what I'm after.
How would you interpret your legacy?
Me.
You, the legacy of Fat Joe.
As long as I'm still here, it's not even, we haven't scratched the surface. We got 4 TV shows coming out this year. Stars, Fox, Showtime, one-man show introduced by Dave Chappelle. We riding this thing out. This is Fat Joe's slogan is, you gotta stay in the game, you never know. That's a you never know. People's slogan is like, just do it. I'm loving it. No, mine is you gotta stay in the game. You never know. Like, you never know. Like, you better stay in that game because you never know. Like, if you would have asked Fat Joe 20 years ago, would he be here hosting TV shows and this and that and having businesses? No way. So you got to stay in the game. You never know. Also, to all employees out there, working hard, if you think there ain't, somebody's watching. And so you can relate. Whenever you watch a Kobe documentary, you watch a MJ documentary, it's a Michael Jackson documentary, they're always the first ones in the gym and the last ones to go. They're always the first ones and the last ones to go.
The hustle never stops.
And so what I'm saying to you is if you're working in an office, you're working anywhere, wherever, doorman, right? Fat Joe watches the doormans. I got a doorman in Miami named Steve that if I ever open a store or a business in Miami, I'm going to snatch him up. Steve is the hardest worker in the world. I would put him right beside me. There's a Mexican man who pumps gas here in Jersey by my house in snowstorms and rain. If I open up something that I could use this man, I'm going to get him. And so people are always watching. You think you got a job, you punch in and out. That's not how you get to the elite level. That's not how you get considered for these positions. And so you got to stay in the game. You never know. And so my legacy, I'm still in the game.
Joe, I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah. And shout out to NPR. I did Tiny Desk with them.
Okay.
I'm really proud of that. And they were nominated. NPR was nominated in the BET Hip Hop Awards. I was shocked. It was Drink Champs. It was $1 million a game. NPR, Tiny Desk. I was like, yo.
That's what's up.
So I'm glad they getting the props they deserve.
A big shout out to Fat Joe and his team for making this whole thing go down. On this week's Plus episode, Fat Joe's close relationship with DJ Khaled and Eminem. And we hear his take on the realest MCs in hip hop history. Remember, stay positive and let's keep it moving.